Okay, so I've just come home early hours in the morning, which is perfect because we're meant to be living in a 24-hour city. Australia needs to pick up its game and have something like New York City. I am so relaxed in New York City. I have no PTSD issues. It's because it's an environment that suits me. And that's the thing. I actually sleep. I, unless I'm in a very small inside environment, I'm going to say this because I can't stand. I get that claustrophobic. But when I've stayed in places in New York which have got real large inside environments, and the first thing that happens is my body shuts down and starts sleeping because I'm so relaxed. Anyway, that aside, I can explain that in detail if you like, but I'll tell you now. So one of the things that was taught, what my PTSD needs, and everybody's different, is the city. Now, part of my therapy was to actually go to coffee shops by myself, to go to the art gallery, these aren't things that are out of the ordinary for me already. Okay, because an example of my background is I was always a cafe culture guy, including every Wednesday after high school, I used to meet a group of people in the cafe to talk about art, theatre, and so forth. And we used to sit there all afternoon until I had dance lessons, dance and musical lessons and so forth. And anyway, so these are things. So I've always been a cafe culture guy. So to get me exposure is to do things that were normal to me, like sit in a coffee shop by myself, because that's not unnormal for me to do. To go into a cafe and just sit and have a coffee and, yes, read the paper. This is what's so weird with my family. It's like, what do you mean if I say read the paper? Of course. I am very vain and I hate people knowing that I have to wear glasses to read. I am very vain. But what do you mean? You didn't know that I would sit down and just read the paper, or read a magazine, or they have art books and so forth, or just flip through it and just be there in the cosmopolitan area. What do you mean you didn't notice about me? Because that's who I am as a person. I don't go to pubs. I'm not a pub person. A lounge, yes, but anyway. You right, Baxi? Up now, sweetheart. The other thing was the art galleries. That's not unnormal. I've been arty my whole life. So since a little child, before my mother moved from Sydney, it was always theatre, art, and so forth, and even afterwards. So these are normal things for me to do. These are normal my past to go. So it's like, okay, well then to get exposure around people, go to do things what you've done in your past. You go to the art gallery, go to the art gallery. Go to cafes, go to the cafe. So tonight, and so the other thing was, go and strike up conversations with complete strangers. You're not going to get out of the whole feeling after you're mugged if you can't walk up and just talk about anything. Find something you have in common. Talk about something. Who cares if they think you're weird? You're never going to see them again. Just go and start a conversation with a complete stranger. You don't have to know them again. You don't have to exchange details. They don't have to be friends. So this was part of it. It's exposure. And I just did that tonight. So I went into the city. Initially, I wanted to get some milk, but everything was closed to get milk. Went in, spoke to some fantastic people. A fantastic guy from China. He's from Mongolia side of China. It was really lovely. A couple of couples that were from France. I'm in here, Buffet. And it was just wonderful. Walking around, exposure, being around people, enjoying, and then, of course, the terrible public transport to get home. But this is actually part of my treatment. And it has been part of my treatment since I was mugged November 30, 2007. And why? It's because I've always been an outgoing person that would just do these things anyway. Would just be always outgoing because I was a VIP host at Star Casino, or even before that. I've always been that outgoing person. So because they've been the November 30th, 2007 sort of put me back into a shell. And, the glioblastoma, it's still, even if people think you're weird, who cares? Be that outgoing person. Just strike up a conversation with a complete stranger. So you can, so it is who I am as a person. That very sort of outgoing, person I've always been. you know, to just do that, to be able to go somewhere like I did, for example, in 2013. I'm in New York City, where I struck up a conversation with a guy. What was his name? Ryan Morgan, a hairdresser. And the next night, I met him at his hotel room in Times Square for drinks. So that's who I've been. Like, you could just go and meet some complete strangers, and you're friends with them the next day, type thing. So there. It can also be a bad thing. That can be looked at, like which I found in the last 9 years, where you can have the wrong types of people. You've got to be assertive enough that the wrong types of people get it from you, which they didn't, when you tell them to piss off. But that didn't happen tonight. So wonderful people enjoyed. Yes, Baxter. My dog is really annoyed with me. Are you going to sulk? Baxter, are you going to talk with me? He's doing the whole... Because I went without him. And he loves coming with me, but we need to get some wheels for me back legs. And then I'm going to leave that post as it is, so I'm going to snuggle up with my dog and eat some beautiful leftovers that I have cooked, because I did a slow roasted pork for 3 hours, and it's amazing. I've saved it a little bit for Gio to try before it dries out, but I'm going to have some leftovers with my dog.